Hello and welcome to Question Hour on Rajya Sabha TV, the show where we get you latest on the questions asked by the members in the upper house from various ministries and departments and the replies given by the government. I am Rajat Kane and joining with me my colleague Kriti Mishra.
Thank you so much, Rajat. So let's take our viewers through important questions and answers in this edition of the Question Hour show.
Well, the first question of the show that was asked by members Vijaypal Singh Tomar, Harnath Singh Yadav and Devendra Paul Vats from Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The member asked about the number of cases of contaminated water-related disease or infections reported across country during last 3 years and the state and union territory-wise breakup, particularly due to contaminated underground water.
In the response, the government says that the Central Groundwater Board generates the groundwater quality data on a regional scale during various scientific studies and groundwater quality monitoring throughout the country, including National Capital Region or NCR, as well as National Capital Territory NCT of Delhi. These studies indicate the occurrence of fluoride, arsenic, nitrate, iron and heavy metals beyond the BIS permissible limits in isolated pockets in various parts of the country. Further, Central Pollution Control Board under National Water Quality Monitoring Program monitors water quality of groundwater at 45 locations in Delhi. No increasing or decreasing trends observed in groundwater pollution level in NCT of Delhi as per the groundwater quality assessment for the year 2018 and 2019. In fact, one of the members who asked this question, Dr. Devendra Paul Vats, joined us on the Question Hour show, and this is what he had to say on government's response to his query. Take a listen. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for joining us. You asked a very important question about waterborne diseases. What is government's take and how do you look at the response of the government?
You see, waterborne diseases have a very big magnitude in our country. And I must say that more than 1.5 crore people suffer annually from waterborne diseases. Out of them, biggest is diarrhea, which in itself is around 1 crore 31 lakhs. Then is typhoid, hepatitis, and certainly cholera has been controlled. And then rest of the diseases like amoebic diarrhea. In totality, it's quite a big number. And this is because of our lack of management of potable water. And potable water, you can say safe water, safe drinking water. Sources of safe drinking water are either government supplies or tap water or water from hand pumps. Then stored waters from reservoirs. All these things combined are available to 80% of Indian population. Some of the pollutants and contaminants are chemicals also, like flow from the industries, arsenic, lead contents, then shisha in itself. Then some of the contaminants like fluorides and arsenics are there in certain districts where government is again giving extra 1,000 crore rupees to purify the water in those affected districts. And what government is doing for it? One is prevention of these diseases, mass education that is required, hygienic conditions, we should be concerned about it, that people know what is safe water. And safety of water at the same time, it should contain sufficient minerals also, because RO water is very safe, but it is devoid of minerals. Therefore, we should drink treated water, and treated water is like water supply, government water supply from water works, that processed and treated water. Then government's plan is, especially in Haryana, we want to take safe water to every kitchen, कि हर रसोई तक by 2024 government is ensuring the supply of potable safe water which can be used. As far as personal needs are concerned, 8 to 10 liters of water is sufficient for drinking purposes, cooking purposes. But for washing, bathing and all that, 56 liters of water is a must for one individual per capita. So that government has come with Jal Jeevan Abhiyan.
Right, so those were important suggestions that you made. Thank you so much for talking to Rajya Sabha Television. And now let's move on to the next question that has been asked by member Akhilesh Prasad Singh, and this question pertains to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And Mr. Singh has asked the government about the number of women at present in central paramilitary forces.
Well, giving a precise reply, the ministry said in January 2016 it was decided to reserve 33% post at constable level for being filled by women in CRPF and CISF to begin with, and 14 to 15% post at constable level in border guarding forces, that is BSF, Sashastra Seema Bal and ITBP. The strength of women personnel in the Central Armed Police Forces as on 1st February 2016 was 20,568, which has risen to 27,126 as on 1st January this year. Now, no special recruitment drive, especially for women candidate, has been conducted, says government in their reply. Well, moving on to the next question that was asked by member Anand Sharma from Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. The member asked whether it's fact that government has formed an expert panel for time-bound resolution of disputes in oil and gas sector.
While giving a detailed reply to this question, the government says that to increase exploration activities and attract domestic and foreign investment and to promote ease of doing business, government-wide notification dated 28th of February 2019 decided to constitute a committee of external eminent persons or experts for dispute resolution. Pursuant to the decision, government-wide notification dated 16th of December 2019 constituted a committee comprising 3 external eminent persons or experts for dispute resolution. Now, salient terms and conditions of the committee include tenure of members. The tenure of members of the committee shall be 3 years. Powers and functions of the members. The committee shall exercise all powers and discharge all functions necessary for carrying out conciliation and mediation proceedings for resolution of the disputes between the parties as per the provisions of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, and the endeavour of the committee would be that the parties arrive at a settlement agreement within 3 months from the date of the first meeting of the committee. The committee, acting as a conciliator or mediator, may take services of third party or expert agency to aid and assist in its discharge of functions as and when required. Any dispute or difference arising of contract relating to exploration of blocks or fields of India can be referred to the committee if both parties of the contract agree in writing for conciliation or mediation and further agree not to invoke the arbitration proceedings thereafter. Let's move on to the next question that has been asked by member Kumari Shelja, and this question pertains to the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And the member has asked the government the details of the schemes that are being implemented for the assistance of individuals with autism.
Giving a detailed response, the ministry said the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities doesn't implement any exclusive schemes for individuals with autism. The department has established the National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation and Multiple Disciplines under National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation and Multiple Disabilities Act 1999. The department implements following scheme: Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme, Assistance to Disabled Persons for Purchasing Fitting Aids and Appliances Scheme, Scheme for Implementing of Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 with following broad components: creation of barrier-free environment for persons with disabilities, National Action Plan for Skill Development for Persons with Disabilities, Accessible India Campaign, Unique Disability Identification Project, the Scholarship for Students with Disabilities, and lastly the Scheme of National Trust for the Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation and Multiple Disciplines. So moving on to last question of this edition of Questioner that was asked by member Sushil Kumar Gupta from Ministry of Labour and Employment. The member asked whether the ministry has taken any initiative for bringing transparency and accountability through reforms and enforcement of labour laws.
Well, again, the government has given an elaborate reply to this question, and the government goes on to say that reforms in labour laws, that is an ongoing process to update the legislative as well as the governance systems to address the need of the hour so as to make them more effective, flexible and in sync with emerging economic and industrial scenario. The ministry has taken steps for drafting 4 labour codes, that is the Code on Wages, Industrial Relations Code, the Occupational Safety and Health and Working Conditions Code and the Code on Social Security by simplifying, amalgamating and also rationalizing the relevant provisions of the existing central labour laws. Out of these 4 labour codes, the Code on Wages 2019 has been notified on 8th of August 2019 in the Gazette of India. The rest 3 codes, that is the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, the Industrial Relations Code 2019 and the Code on Social Security 2019, they all have been introduced in the Lok Sabha on 23rd of July 2019, 28th of November 2019 and also 11th of December 2019 respectively, and subsequently referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Labour for further examination and scrutiny. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Labour has already submitted its report on the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2019.
Well, that's it in this edition of Questioner. Me and Kriti sign off here, but do not go anywhere. Prashankal on the other side. Thank you for watching this edition of the show.